We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy. This might be one of the first times in a while that I'm using the Walkcast as an opportunity to give a message. And I'm not saying that I don't give messages the other time, but while walking, a message literally just hit me. So I want to share it. And if it impacts you, sweet. If it don't, I'm not mad. There are two paths that in some way, shape, or form we cross those paths. Conquer and quit. When we're working on things in our lives, getting it done, we check the box, we accept that it's completed, we've conquered that thing. The alternate side of it, we work on something, we don't get it finished to the standard that it needs to be done. It's quote unquote left on red. As I think I had it as a theme. I want to say the year before, uh, unfinished business. How much more completion and conquering are you doing at fulfilling your personal layers and levels of success versus are you quitting? Are you throwing in the towel? Are you giving up? Are you letting go? As November begins and as we near the end of 2024, there's there's not been much, at least from my personal observation, there's not been as much quit in me as there normally is used to being. And why I'm saying that or sharing it in that form is because typically something comes up or something happens. But for whatever reason, anything that I wanted to accomplish or anything that needed to be accomplished, it got accomplished. There were a few times that I would feel myself be in the process of quitting, but understanding too, I can't afford to quit. I've done these, I've done the walk off and on for almost 2 years, little probably a year and a half, give or take. And when I actually started this current form of my health journey, I'm 100% truthful in saying that there's no way I would have the energy or the effort
in it the way that I do. And it's important to address that because I've had my fair share of conquering boxes checked. I know while I'm thinking about it. So it's a place near me where you can get cash or like an ATM. And for years, anytime I come over here, I'm always like sketch or unsure about stopping because it's just it's just not the most well lit area. Well, this morning I walked by it and someone must have literally put up the most wholesome yet genuine lighting because now you can actually see inside. And I think that's, or see, not inside, but see what you're doing. And it makes it a more safer space to do stuff. Because I'm not going to lie, in the times and in the spaces of me having to get money from an ATM, I'm very meticulous of where I go to do ATM transactions. It's just a habit. Um, but important because you sometimes need to find like that space or that place to like do the thing. But I was thinking about that just now. Yeah, this is confirmation. All right now, how y'all doing? This is information this morning. Yeah, as much as I don't think about it, shouldn't be so lackluster and so late on my walks because let's face it, the earlier I can get out here, the quicker I can get what I need to get done and not have as many people outside, as much activity outside, the whole nine. And today is a, no pun intended, a true testament of that. But conquering and quitting, that was like a tangent, but those of y'all that have been tuning in and listening to these walks long enough know there's no there's no lineup, there's no script, there's no forecasted plan of what I'm going to talk about. I just get into a good conversation, and I'm open and being honest that this year has really put me in spaces of learning and valuing when I've conquered something. And as hard as it might sound, not being so hard on myself, thinking that I'm gonna quit. Um, I, like I mentioned before, I went to the started the gym literally nearly 2 years ago, and my body has gone through every form and source of emotion. You know what I mean? Gotten all of it done, accomplished whatever's been put in front of me. The the inconsistency that I've personally had to encounter more than anything has been just my own workouts offline, which to be to be blunt, it ain't that I can't do it, it ain't that I don't want to do it. It's just a lot of times when you're starting the day, it's it's there and it's important to know that it needs to be done. But then there's also like the grit and the willingness don't want to do it. And again, I'm not saying this looking for any pity or sorrow, but I'm just speaking outlandishly about where I'm at. A lot of good morning. How you doing? And the interesting part of it is you don't. Many times in life, you really don't know what you're doing with this good old fun thing called life. And the best part about it, you're not alone. There are others who are in your exact same shoes trying to figure this out. And there's not anyone, there's not anyone standing around with a clipboard or a playbook telling you, oh, you need to do this, or maybe you should do that, or it might be a good idea to work on this. None of these things are told to you at all. You are somehow forced to figure it out. And goes back to the it goes back to the phrase commit or quit. Commit to it, conquer it, or quit. And a lot of times we don't think about the simple fact that we'll commit to something. We'll say, oh, I can do it. We've already quit before we even start doing it. I personally have found that I'm far from someone who has been needing to give up on anything in life. I've needed to get certain things completed or accomplished. And it's been for the sake of my sanity, it's been for the sake of my health, it's been for the sake of my well being. And I've learned that more and more over time. Something else that sticks out too with all of this is the days that I want to not do it are genuinely the days I have to do it because it becomes bigger than the initial plan to begin with. And I've I've talked about this a little bit before, but I share this now because it's something that you really don't think about. Time moves different in different spaces. Time moves different in different spaces. And why I'm sharing that with you all is because I can give you different scenarios where you've done something and time has either moved very quickly or it seemed like forever in a day for you to see time flourish. Prime example. And yes, I am going there. And no, I don't care who gets offended by what I'm about to say. When I do these morning walks, time is a sloth, not being funny. It's the longest 20 minutes. On Saturdays, the when I and I'm likely gonna get back to it um in December, maybe this month. But doing the 4 miles on Saturday, it's it's a lot without knowing it's a lot. Um I've personally found that you are not really going against time, but you're finding time to be a viable source in what you're doing. So time takes a lot longer in those instances, but it's eventually, you know, worth it in the long run. sporting activities. When you're watching a game in person, it seems very meticulous and very slow and very delayed. But the truth is, the game runs the same speed. Watching it in person, baseball. With baseball, it's 100% a valid assessment because you're literally finding yourself thinking, dang, I went first inning, sixth inning, whatever, and how quick everything happened. Oh, it's the longer process with time in those spaces. However, open YouTube or scroll on a social media app and watch how quick you can lose 2 hours from just watching a video or three. And it's pending what you gain from what you're consuming. If you've been keeping up, if I haven't already been sharing, we are currently on the road to 200. And right now, have probably 133, 134 hours of my phone actively being bricked and a lot of applications that I'm not accessing. Now, full transparency, still have a tablet, still have a computer. So I still go on these apps to view things. I may save stuff from time to time, but I'm not as engulfed by it. But therein circles back to the other thing, which is, am I committing or conquering the things that I'm supposed to work on while my phone is in this state? Or am I quitting and not making the main thing the main thing? So yesterday, for instance, I needed to watch, well, not watch, I need to update my calendar. Didn't update my wall calendar. This is my first official month, or in theory, this would be my first official month with the calendar on the wall. And seeing the wall calendar like physically on your wall and keeping track of stuff has been monumental. Do not get me wrong. I love the um I call them the traditional planners or calendars that I guess you can call them flip calendars, where each uh each day has its own little box and you can add in stuff on those. Not many companies give those out anymore. There are a couple that are still quote unquote old faithfuls. They ain't breaking away from the pattern. However, um, and I've shared this on the Walkcast, on the podcast in general. I think it was 20. It had to be either 2016 or 2017, and I did not. Looking back at it, I probably would have bought everything different, but how I got it, it worked. Um, I bought this huge wall calendar, this huge blank um, dry erase board, and a cork board. Now, to be fair, the cork board have not really done anything with it, haven't placed it anywhere, just haven't really thought about it. The calendar, I'm just placing the calendar on the wall. The full dry erase board, it sits in a corner and I see it constantly. Um, The thing that's so interesting about these is right after I got all these, I recommended to people to get this set, but in a more minimalist yet simpler fashion. Um, I think Target had a deal. They may still have this deal going on years later. It's less than $30. I know that. But it's basically a 3-in-1. And you can either, I think they separate it, or it might be just one piece that you put on the wall that has all three of these like built into it. It's a smaller cork board. The note or blank canvas option is a decent size, and the calendar is pretty quick to update. But the craziest thing, and this is I found these like a few months ago. I want to say it was either in, I'd have been like either March or April. Ever since I found it, I was like, why didn't I get this sooner? And basically, it's a set where, so for November, I just take down October off of the calendar, and it's a magnet that says November. And then for the days of the week, I have every single date, and it comes in this little tube. I never put them back in the tube because I don't need to, because I've I'm literally using them every month. Um, so I just update all the dates for this month. It will be 1 through 30, and then once I get to uh, 30, 31, I just place off to the side, and then because I have it on the wall each morning, I update it as today is whatever day it is, and then all I got to do is write in all the information. And usually, I'm writing that uh, for my tablet. So, and a lot of people have. I know a lot of folks are always hearing me say this. They're like, "Well, you're always talking about being like analog, but you still use Google Calendar." And I'm like, "Of course, I use Google Calendar. One, believe it or not, to keep track and retain the many birthdays, events, appointments that I have scheduled, because I don't care how smart or not smart you are, retaining all that information will bombard you. Now, to be fair, if you are properly planning ahead, you can have them written out in that form. But then, two, I'm also a bullet journaler. So, and speaking of, I need to make my decision. So I asked a friend of mine, and it was funny because I put up a poll. I think I had the poll up for probably a couple hours, but I already knew what my decision was. And I asked my friend, like, pick between blue and yellow. I didn't give her any context. I just said pick between those two colors. So she picked blue, and I then told her that it was for um it was for my planner. And I explained to her, like, I've been picking planners for the last few years. I didn't tell her this specifically, but it's kind of been like key to the selection. So normally, anytime I get a bullet journal, I've always done black. I've always done blue. I never, at least from Ryder Carroll's page bullet journal, I've never gotten green. Thought about the artist way. So there are two artist theme planners that they have, or Bujo notebooks they have. And I looked at both of them, and they're great artist based designs, but they don't hit for me. And then I looked at the stealth. I thought the stealth was cool, but the reality is, for this planner this year, this coming year, I don't want a pin loop. And there's no point in spending extra for a pin loop and paying for a pin, and I'm not going to carry them. So instead, that put me down to green, blue, black, and yellow. Now, like I mentioned, well, I haven't mentioned, the yellow one just came out probably a couple of months ago. And I didn't think about it at the time, but I'm thinking about it now. But really, to a degree, I wish I had waited to buy the pocket journal, the pocket notebook, because at the time it was only in black. And probably like a couple months later, when they brought out the yellow bullet journal, they brought out the yellow pocket notebook. So I was like, well, dang, I should have got the yellow one. But I like my black one. And the funniest part about that was I bought them, and they sat. And I mean, they sat. Like I didn't use them probably for a minute. Um, this year will probably be one of the first years that I'm buying my bullet journal, and I'll have it in time for day one or day zero or whatever. Um, I'll be the first to admit the Edition X was great to me this year. I think I personally, I won't say overused it or overstimulated it. I just knew for a fact that there was a lot more information that I needed to air or address. And for whatever reason, it it constantly kept bringing me back to the same old message of write it down, write it down. And in so many words, my and thinking back on it now, it didn't seem like a big deal, but it is in theory. My bullet journal accidentally became a commonplace notebook. And for those of you who have never heard that phrase or term, commonplace is just the fancy term for a catch-all. There was a lot of things that it was information I would find on Instagram, maybe TikTok. And I'm like, oh, this is a good message. Let me write these down, keep them handy because you never know. And this this year would officially be year 3 of my notebooks. So my first 2 years, no no shade or disrespect to those. And it's obviously just on the simple fact that that I don't have them. But oh, they're trying to turn with them soon. Um, prepare for loud noise, maybe. They're coming which way? Okay, they're going that way. Cool. No, they're coming this way. Prepare for loud noise. Or not. Um, there we go. I knew eventually it was gonna happen. Um, but my first 2 bullet journals, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm gonna, I was trying to do like just a massive cleaning. And unbeknownst to me, I just chucked them. Not much, not much else that I want to say on this walk, but to bring it all home, commit and conquer your things that you need to work on. And an added piece, if you are going to find yourself putting on this task of this thing, if if you're gonna quit and you're not gonna do it, at least commit it to the following day. As a bullet journal enthusiast and as a writer by nature, we have a habit that we do of we're gonna work on something. And if we don't finish the thing, by default, sometimes we'll put it to the next day, which we know we need to do it the next day. But then now you've let it sit and not fester, but go through its process. Now, if a new day comes and you put something new down, but you didn't finish those things that you were supposed to do, now it's a bigger, I want to say problem, but it's a more important factor or element to consider of what you're working on. And it just comes down to taking care of what you need to take care of and not feeling, for lack of a better term, feeling sorry for yourself. Um, do what's do what's capable of being accomplished and don't make anything more complicated than what it has to be. And in doing that, you'll get very far and you'll get plenty accomplished. And speaking from personal experience, don't don't overly glorify my tasks or to-do list, but I do stand behind the fact that if there's stuff that I need to work on, I try to work on it. Like I know today I gotta look at my car. I've gotta do my review or reflection of November, of October. That set and figure out my goals for November, um, and actually commit to those goals. Um, like speaking of and breaking it down, like even this year, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've probably been more black offish and lackadaisical with reading. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a big avid reader, but I've probably done my worst work of reading in quite some time. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm perfect or that I'm not being I'm not being as overly hard on myself as I normally would be, but I am taking the proper inventory and being aware like, hey, you gotta you gotta do what you intended to do and move, give the body some movement, give the effort some necessary treatment. I say the body some movement, but the reality is um shut shutting down and as someone who's open and admitting this, the challenge with quitting and the conquering that I did not get into is the distractions. And the distractions are going to distract. The world is going to throw so many curveballs at you. It is insane. And I did not talk about this too much. Um, just kind of almost timing in a sense, but just reality being what it was. So to give you all context, Wednesday would have been the last walkcast if you've been listening to them in order, which was Halloween Eve. Well, that Wednesday or Hollow Eve, some people call it that. On Wednesday evening, I was attending a service for the men. So I've been, I've been very keen and very close on my faith and my beliefs for quite some time. I've kind of teetered off and on. I've kind of gone through my fair share of interactions where I value what church offers, but then I'm also like, it's daunting, taxing, overwhelming, the whole nine. But lately, um, I've found that putting the right pieces in place has gotten me into better positions. And here's what I mean, and I'm going to break this. This is not part of what I was talking about, but of course, as y'all know, when I finish the walk and I get that little cool down moment, I'm like, I gotta talk because this is where the meat and potatoes are, and this is where I'm gonna really bring some messages and some gems in. A few years ago, matter of fact, I would say We looking at 2017, 2016, 2017, maybe 2018. I started to go into my own hole or realm of what I want to do and how I want to do things, meaning collecting crystals, doing tarot, like getting tarot cards, really big on like chakras and all that stuff. Now, I believe chakras still, like our body still has that temple based carriage to it. I'm not going to take that away. But a lot of the other elements, I was not that big on. I still have, like, to this day, and it's no joke or nothing to treat lightly, but I still have like all of the crystals. They're in a bowl now, but I don't really do much with them. Um, but now I've found myself leaving the worldly things behind to some extent because I'm still a tech guy. I still have like different things that I'm big on and more focusing on like spiritual God, my personal faith. Uh it's less on the religious side though. And it's more of the I just know who I need to be and what I need to do to fulfill what I need to fulfill. I don't remember if it was after it was probably around the time last year. So today is usually not one of my brightest days, but today it's a little different and I love the space I'm in, so I'm not complaining. Um, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I can share offline and give you kind of the rundown. But um I personally remember last year, I don't know if it was when I got back from Afrotech or what exactly occurred, but all I can recall, all I can remember more than anything was um, getting back to the main thing and why that's important or why I'm sharing that is, hey, what's going on, boss? Good morning. I'm good. How you been? Good. Um, I can remember going to a very unique space and a good space where, and I still remember I don't remember the exact podcast number, but there was a podcast where I did like the podcast and then did like a part two because I started listening to, and I'd listened to some songs from her before, but I was really listening to Cleo Soul and her. It was like she dropped an album, and then not long after she dropped another album. And I haven't listened to those albums in a while, but I can remember listening to them at like a very low point in life. And why I talk about the first part with the chakras and the crystals and the tarot and all that, I was doing a lot of stuff and I was gaining things to some degree, but it wasn't what I needed. And I don't say that I didn't value what I earned or what I gained at the time, because that's far from the case. But where I'm going with that, or why I say that, is because I then took time to really look at where life put me when I started to like really see what I'm trying to work on. Like this year, one of my spiritual goals was to read the Bible more. I did a Bible plan, reading the Bible every day, and it kind of went to the wayside a little bit. But now, like each morning or every day, I will open a Bible app, look at, with the daily verses. Since I want to say August, started attending uh, kind of almost like service in the park. One of my friends started that, and I think that's been like the best thing going. He had initially started where he had like men and women there, and it was a few that the women would be there, and then he said, "Well, it was put on me to make this for the men," and being in that space has really put a lot into perspective. And even like when I talked to my mom about this a little bit yesterday, even in the last few months, before my dad's like health was beginning to decline and before life went through what it went through, I was starting to wonder and pay attention to what was gravitating me towards a lot of the things that I was beginning to become gravitated to, which were great things by far. Let me be clear. Um, but it was like after he went to the hospital, after he got sick, and and people have talked to me offline, and I'll share this with you all. I was very like I had folks who were like, "Oh, you need to go every day, and you gotta go check on him." And I'm like, I don't mean any disrespect or no harm. As someone who formerly worked in healthcare, I'm probably one of the few people that did not do the hospital thing very well. Um, the first hospital he went to was where I previously worked. Not gonna put any business out there, but I'll say that while he was there, that was probably the unsure, the uncertainty. Like, do I want to go? Should I go? Is he, what can I do? And I think I prayed a lot more. Um, I stayed, I stayed positive, I stayed focused, and was just trying to work on what I could work on from my end. And then when he went to the next facility, that was when I started to kind of say, let me, take a day or take some time and go check in. Uh, I've looked at the pictures a while back, but I can remember like I didn't really post much of me because I was like so emotionally engulfed. But I can remember like going to, I'd take a picture with whatever shoes I had on at the time and going to see him and talking with him and stuff like that. But I can say this now and going back to the commit and conquer and the quit. He didn't quit. He 100% did not quit. He fulfillingly and completely committed and conquered. He conquered what he was intended to do and who he was intended to be. And like I said, I don't that Wednesday, I really didn't, and I'm not. I mean, I'm not somebody who posts for engagement and no, not me. But I didn't post or share a lot on the day of. But that following day, it was set on me to just share what I felt. And the thing that's so crazy is like Wednesday, Wednesday evening, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all were a blur, like a full blown blur. Um, I can remember, I can remember trying to attempt to attend an event, and I'm like, I don't mean no, like everything worked out as it was intended over time, but in the moment I was like, I don't mean any disrespect, and I say this with nothing but love, but I can't. I don't want to go. I didn't. I did not care about any events, any conference, and that's why it's like things that people get so wrapped in and consumed by. I'm like the exact opposite, where I'm just like, it's not a priority now. Um, but yeah, I'm all off course. Done flew everywhere. Haven't gotten anywhere. But let me land this plane. Um, I really want people to hold on to their faith, and as this bird is like really dominating this conversation, but I really want people to hold on to their faith and their belief and keep, like I constantly say, keep the main thing, and don't put the wrong pieces or the wrong elements in your life. And if it is what, if you are gonna be who you are and you do what you choose to do so and be okay with it. But also understand everybody's not gonna be on that same path. Sometimes it can get a little tricky, it can get a little complicated, but you gotta know how to move in those moments. And that's what I'm beginning to see and learn more than anything else. And I noticed, like I said, this was not one of those. I initially had it planned out. Okay, talk about commit or quit and get on up out of here. But realistically, I want to share everything that I share because I really want people to like, to their ability, take time to love on yourself, be patient with yourself, and navigate through this thing, man. Because the one thing that can challenge us is not realizing like we gotta figure it out, even when life don't want us to figure it out. So that's the message I got, man. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Welcome to November. I don't know if I said that part or not, but yeah, man, we're gonna make some things go. I'm ready. I'm ready for where life is about to take me and continues to take me and putting me in the right position around the right people. Like ironically, I was talking about it for a second earlier, but even now, like I just got a message from one of these, like I mentioned earlier, going to the men's ministry. Like I went to the men's, and I gave that story. Sorry, I went all over the place. So yeah, I went to the men's ministry that Wednesday evening, and we talked about some different topics, talking about how are you doing fulfilling your word, how you sharing your word, and where it all comes to fruition is thinking about the fact that sometimes it's not that people don't understand why well, yeah, I need you to react like da 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 da. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. He is not, he is not who I am. I am me. I guess it was them letting them know not to turn or something. Um, Kind of unnecessary. But anyway. Um, but it literally has been like even so yesterday was Halloween. For some reason, and it wasn't that I didn't think that everything could have been cool, everything could have been honky dory, whatever. But for whatever reason, I didn't want to go anywhere. I did not want to like leave the house. I was like, let me stay in the house, let me chill out, let me be off the grid for a minute. And if I need stuff to be delivered, then screw it, deliver it, because I'm not leaving. And I didn't. And it wasn't in a form of like me running per se, but it was more of I need to sit today. And also it was like an honoring to my parents, predominantly my mom, but definitely my dad, of like their anniversary. So that's where that is on that, and that's kind of what went on. So hope y'all got something out of that. And I know again, apologies if it went all over the place, but I love y'all, I appreciate y'all, and we gonna do this again soon. And until next time, BT signing out.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.